Happy Halloween, my little fam. Welcome back to my channel. I am Stephanie. If you're new here, thank you for joining me. If you're not new here, thank you for coming back. It's cold today. It's been getting chilly, so I had to don my nice thick Carhartt sweatshirt. And it's keeping me nice and cozy. So I was gonna do a Halloween look, get ready with me, but let's face it, who is gonna spend 2 hours doing their Halloween makeup and sitting on their couch watching scary movies on Netflix and eating popcorn? I'm not doing that, and you probably aren't either. So I thought we would do something kind of fun in a creepy way. In the spirit of Halloween, I want to tell you about this guy. He is a piece of local Vermont lore. I thought it was a really interesting story, and I'm hoping that you'll find it interesting too. This is the story of Timothy Clark Smith. And when you hear the progression of this guy's story, you'll totally understand why, because he's kind of local legend. Anyway, if this interests you, hang tight. We're gonna get right into it. And don't forget, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of it. And if you wanna see more like this, hit that subscribe button and ring that little notification bell, and it'll let you know when I upload next. Let's mosey on into it, shall we? Okay, so I'm gonna scoot over here for a second because I figure I will put some photos up in the side so you can see what I'm talking about. And I took copious notes on this guy because, well, as copious as I could find, because honestly, there wasn't a huge amount on like his life stories, but what I did find, I wanted to share with you before we got into the creepy part. So, Timothy Clark Smith, he was born in Moncton, Vermont, which is about an hour and 52 hours away from my house. He was raised in that area, ended up going to Middlebury College. Now, Middlebury College is actually still there. And now, to give you a little context, Timothy Clark Smith was born June 14th, 1821. So, this is early 19th century. So, Middlebury College has been there for a while. And then he graduated from Middlebury College and got a job with the US government as a clerk. He then ended up going to the University of the City of New York. That's what it was called back then. Now it's better known as New York University. So they too are open still. But he got his medical degree at New York University. And he actually went on after that to work as a physician for the Russian military for a few years. And that kind of led the way for him to become US consul to Odessa, Russia, and Galatz, Romania, which is pretty impressive, like for a small town Vermonter at the time, you know? I mean, he was a well-traveled guy, very well educated. I really wish that they had had more stories about, you know, his life in general. That being said, the problem with Timothy, poor Timothy. Timothy suffered from something called taphophobia. And that comes from the Greek taphos, meaning burial or buried, and phobia, which I think generally everyone knows that that means a fear of. So Timothy was deathly afraid of being buried alive. Pun intended? Yes. Sure. Yeah, I meant to say that. Yeah, so Timothy was scared of being buried alive. Now, for the time period that he was alive, which was the early to, well, let's see. When did he die? He died in 1897. So there had been many accounts of people being buried alive. They would fall into some kind of catatonic or comatose state. And because the medical profession wasn't as advanced as it is now, they would be pronounced dead by a physician, buried, only to have their bodies exhumed months after the fact and found with torn out hair and torn clothes and claw marks in the coffins, you name it. There had been, several accounts, and if I'm not mistaken, if I recall correctly, a study was done in the early 20th century, and this guy was able to find that there were over 200 accounts of legitimate, actual live burials. Let me see. I know I had this up, actually, because I was looking at it just a short time ago. There it is. It says, from contemporary medical sources, William Tebb compiled 219 instances of narrow escape from premature burial, 149 cases of actual premature burial, 10 cases in which bodies were accidentally dissected before death, and 2 cases in which embalming was started on the not yet dead. So Timothy had good reason to be scared of this. I mean, considering he was a physician, he knew the limitations of his profession. So, understandably, he would be freaked out. What a horrible fear to live with your entire life, right? So, he had a plan. He was going to build the crypt. Even Dieter's creeped out by this. So when Timothy created this crypt, the crypt actually has 2 sets of staircases. At the foot of the crypt is a large piece of granite. Underneath the piece of granite, there's a staircase that goes around to Timothy's portion of the crypt. And then there's another staircase that goes around to his wife's part of the crypt. Yeah, you heard that right. So Timothy is buried here, and his wife is buried right here. Yeah. Now, that's not the most unusual part of this whole story. See, Timothy wanted to make sure that people could tell if he was still alive or not. So he built his crypt with a window. Yeah, it is still there, in fact. So there's a 14 by 14 inch square window at the top of Timothy's crypt. To this day, it is still there. It is uncovered. You can see it. It is in New Haven, Vermont. And he wanted to ensure that people would come and check up on him and make sure that he was still dead. So, and of course, people did check up on him, and he did, in fact, remain dead. I guess by that point, they knew. They knew how to tell whether he was passed or not, which is good. Good for Timothy, yes. Good in his case, for sure. That being said, because of the years of weathering and erosion and I'm sure other things, you unfortunately cannot see through the window anymore. Well, unfortunately. Is that unfortunate? I mean, I can't imagine what Timothy looks like now. There are rumors of people going in the middle of the night with flashlights and shining them down into the grave and still being able to barely make out Timothy's face. And for years, there were also rumors that people, prior to it getting so filmed over and covered with condensation, could actually see that there is like a little chisel and hammer that he was buried with. And there are also rumors that he was buried with a little bell so that you could hear him. And that actually wasn't that uncommon, being buried with a bell. And of course, a lot of people attribute the saying "saved by the bell" to that whole being buried with a bell thing. This whole story kind of took me into a weird little rabbit hole because I was like, oh, his crypt is interesting, so of course I started looking into other crypts. And there was this one that, as morbid as it is, I had to get a chuckle out of it because in the box there was a little pull, like a pull rope. And if you were still alive and buried in this box, you could pull on the rope and it would shoot a flag up. And all I could think was, oh, it's like going fly fishing. Like, okay, fly fishing for dead people. Rock on. I know. I can't help it. It's the brain. What can I say? I'm going to find an example of that and put it right here because I just thought it was morbidly hilarious. Anyway, that's the story of Timothy Clark Smith, and I really do wish that I had been able to find more on his life, but unfortunately, information is really limited on him. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. And again, if you want to see more videos like this, leave a comment in the comment section below. If you're interested in hearing more random Vermont facts, just let me know. I'm up to research anything. And hopefully for the next one, I can actually go to the place, because time just didn't permit me going to visit Timothy this time, unfortunately. But you know what? Maybe if I get down to New Haven, I will take a little video and pop it up on my channel so you can see it in the future. Thank you so much for joining me, you guys. I hope you have a fantastic Halloween. I hope that you go out and at least buy yourself some treats, watch some scary movies, and live vicariously through the magic of television. Anyway, have a great Halloween. We'll see you next time. Bye. Bye, bye, bye. Don't let them bury you alive.